and also hopefully we have very good conversation. So what I want to do in a minute, just to set us going, is to do a quick presentation. I will not be in my professor mode. I mean, I'll try to be as interactive as possible if the need arises. But just to share some thoughts to keep us going and probably set the scene. So I want to talk about entrepreneurship in Africa. I think Farida asked me to ask a question, which is about why do we need sustainable entrepreneurship at this point? And my question is basically the why and the when. So sustainable entrepreneurship in Africa is one that we all need to pay attention to. But the question is, why do we need to do that? And when should we do it? So is this something that has started already? Or is it something that is futuristic? So, but before I do that, I want to ask this question, which is, what type of entrepreneurs does Africa need? Because sometimes when we talk about entrepreneurship, we are very much talking about wealth creation. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the idea of entrepreneurship is also one that, to a large extent, is framed and shaped by different cultures and different institutions. So the capitalism you have in Europe, in the UK in particular, is different from what you have, say, in China. So but what is entrepreneurship and what is capitalism in the different African countries? And here I'm being specific in the sense that sometimes we talk about Africa as a homogeneous entity. But it's also good to begin to think about the different parts of Africa and the countries within the continent. So that's the question I want us to reflect on in terms of what type of entrepreneurs do we need in Africa. And in order to do that, I invite you to a research I conducted not long ago, where I looked at the motivation behind entrepreneurial behaviors. And as you would know, some people have also argued that there are different types of entrepreneurs, right? So you may have entrepreneurship that is productive. We also have entrepreneurship that is unproductive, and also a form of entrepreneurship that can be destructive. And destructive in the sense here that it might be an entrepreneurship that is detrimental to societal values and societal progress. And for us as entrepreneurs, basically, we'll be looking at whether we are in the productive space, are we engaged in productive entrepreneurship or unproductive entrepreneurship, or even a destructive one. But if you set that aside and think about the types of entrepreneurs that you may find in Africa, there's one I may call the survivalist, right? So the survivalists are sometimes called necessity-driven entrepreneurs. And they just literally want to survive, as the name suggests. Then you have what I may call the success-driven, but success here is nuanced. Success-driven might be organizations that simply want to be the number one in their countries, or even number one in Africa or in the world. So they're just driven by that fact that they want to be seen to be successful. And then there is a third type of entrepreneur, which I would call the society-aligned entrepreneurs. And the question then is, what drives these entrepreneurs, the different types, whether you're a survivalist or success-driven or society-aligned? And this by no means is no way to, I'm not trying to shoehorn anyone into these different types, but they may provide us some things to think about and reflect on as we also think about our roles as entrepreneurs and as our identities as well. So the first one that is that the survivalists are driven by poverty. And poverty here is not necessarily the lack of money or anything, but the fact that people want to survive. So they're running away from poverty. And this poverty mentality is not limited to small businesses. You may even find big businesses, big companies that are also driven by this poverty mentality. And the survivalists, because of the nature of their businesses, they can easily go out of business. A change in policy can affect them. You might be saving, for example, the whole thing about fintech and cryptocurrency. The government in Nigeria, central bank, just made a change, and it affected some entrepreneurs. So it might be government policy, it might be change in market and so on and so forth. And the second one is the to a large extent driven by profit. Is this whole idea that, entrepreneurship is just there. Entrepreneurs are there to make money, full stop, and they don't think much about how they, the kind of impact they have in society and the environment. And the society-aligned entrepreneur, I would argue, is driven more by purpose. And the purpose here is because they're driven by needs. They have needs they're addressing, and these needs matter to society. So they're not just there for the money, but they're solving problems. And they solve problems and they get rewarded for the problem they solve. So those are what you may call your sustainable entrepreneurs, because they are society-aligned and they are also conscious in the sense of their impact as well on society as well as the environment. So the second question I want you to reflect on then is, how can your business help? How can your business be part of the solution that Africa needs? Right? How can your business focus more on the needs of the continent and make money from those by solving those needs? I'm not by any way against money making, but I'm suggesting that a sustainable business can do just more than making money. And this led me to the thinking around what I call the new economic philosophy for Africa. And some of you probably would have heard about Afro-capitalism, which is to a large extent championed by Tony Eluel. But in academia, we'll be trying to engage with it and interrogate it to see what it means and how it can be translated into practice. And hopefully some of the people here today on this call will be able to take, if you have not heard about Afro-capitalism, I encourage you to find easy articles on it to read and digest. But we also publish some articles and books as well. But at the end of the day, in summary, the Afro-capitalism agenda is about having that sense of place. How do we prioritize Africa in our business decisions? How do we recognize Africa as a place? How do we ensure that we create value and retain value for Africa? So it's all about globalization. But if Africa is not properly represented, and in this case by the entrepreneurs, we might be playing a game that we don't understand and a game that might disadvantage Africa in the long run. So hopefully today, the conversations would help us to go back to these questions and help us also to think about our role in society beyond just making money, but also how we can choose the ideas or the philosophy of sustainable entrepreneurship, connect to the real needs and provide solutions to the continent. So I stop here and invite you to make this a very interactive and provocative agenda and conversation that we can all learn from. So thank you.